Have you ever tried to make a change and kind of came to the conclusion, you know what, I'm just wired this way? Or have you heard somebody else say, I'm just wired this way? If that has happened to you, please stick around because today we are going to talk about how we're really wired and how our awareness of that can really lead to better effectiveness and less burnout. So let's dive in. I'm so glad you're here today, and we are here to talk about one of the things that I'm really enjoy the most, which is how we're wired and how to work with our wiring instead of against it. So, when we can do this, when we understand how we're wired, maybe where we have some limitations based on how we're wired, and how to embrace that and work with it, especially in our modern age, in this very fast and noisy environment, we can make some very powerful decisions, be very effective, and let go of a lot of baggage that can get, carried along because of how we're wired. So, the first idea is our brains are not really wired for the modern age. We as a species have been around for, a couple million years, let's say that. And it's only up until, and we've been nomadic, had used stone tools like basic social structures, and just moved about until about 10,000 years ago. So the majority of our existence was this one way. And now, 10,000 years ago, we began staying put. Agriculture started being introduced. Domestication of animals, using animals, started to be introduced. This was 10,000 years ago, right? So over time, our brains have evolved with our environment, and we were very adept at, we actually have more neurons in our brain that is searching for threat than searching for good stuff. We talk about negativity bias. So 10,000 years ago, we started, staying put, more tools, different social structure, agriculture, and then culture, art, all these things as we stayed put started. There was culture, there was art, then we went through a war period, different social structures, feudalism. Anyway, all of these things happened. And then maybe 200 to 300 years ago, we moved from agriculture to the industrial age. So now we have machinery and factory and mass producing things over this time, right? So we're not on the tundra anymore. We're not looking for a threat, every once in a while. We are moving faster and faster. Things are automated, roles are different, social structures are different, communication is different, our access to things is different. And now, about 40 years ago, 30 years ago, historians are now calling this the contemporary age, which is driven by information. It's driven by content and ideas and communication and access. And now we are even faster. So all of the inputs coming in and all of the things we filter, we are still wired for the simple fact of threat, not threat. And any threat is life or death, according to our wiring. So this produces chronic stress. It produces a lot of the issues that we're seeing today without knowing that there's a lot of issues for regulating yourself or staying calm in the midst of all the noise. And just know that you're not broken. It's a challenge because our wiring has not caught up with our environment. So we have oh gosh, I wanted to talk about all sorts of things. We could talk about all different ways to be more effective, knowing that how our wiring works, how our brains work, what's going on as it, our body, our brain, this whole system, and how to be in our bodies, calm, and enjoy in amidst the noise and make good decisions in amidst the noise, and to be able to have fun and relaxation in amidst the noise. And part of it begins with using what you've got. And what we've got is this beautiful organ on top of our bodies that does amazing, amazing things, and also can build some habits that no longer serve us, right? This brain that we have takes so much energy, about 20% of our energy for this 3 or 4 pound organ. And to preserve energy, habituates as much as it possibly can. So we have this beautiful thing. We have this, here's my fancy picture. We have we have a brain. Let's just pretend this nice pink thing is our brain, okay? And we have the older part of our brain, which is the limbic system, right? This is our emotional center. This is where we react. This is pre-language. This is where you hear fight, flight, freeze, fawn, all of these things. These happen here. And then we have the cortex, or we have this more newer part of our brain. It's still not that new. It's been around for quite some time. And this is where our narratives are. This is the rational brain. This is where we make decisions. This is where the language center is. So we have emotion, and to really oversimplify, we have emotion and we have the story. We have emotion, and then we have the feelings, which is usually our story we tell about the emotion that comes. And what happens, especially because we're moving so fast, we don't take the time to feel these emotions. What we do is we immediately tell a story about them. And it has become very cultural to do that. So if you look at a 2-year-old, have you ever seen a 2-year-old when they, I'll say this, pull a toy away from a 2-year-old and see what happens. They will show you exactly what the emotion is attached to what just happened to them. And they are going to feel through it. They are going to scream, cry, stomp, do whatever is coming up. They're expressing it. As we grow older, somebody told us that we're not allowed to do that. Like, we have to be tactful and then talk through it. And what we're doing is we're missing feeling those emotions. And what happens is they get stuck in the body. This is where we get chronic stress. It can go to illness, all of these things. So one of the things and this becomes habituated too, right? People call it stuffing emotions, things like that. So the second point is staying in habits that no longer serve us makes us ineffective. So the beautiful thing is, if we notice a habit, oh, you know what, this isn't healthy anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. What we do is the habit lives here, is we bring it in to our consciousness, our consciousness. You know what, I want to change this. I'm going to start practicing feeling through the emotions. And often, a habit is second nature, right? So we don't have to think about it. When we go to change our mind, to look at, make conscious decisions, we need to keep it in our consciousness. And it can take time because our brains work on this reward system. And so it's, oh, this is working, so I'm going to keep doing this, keep doing this, keep doing this. So now we're saying, okay, it's not working. We're replacing it with something else, but it takes a little while. It takes repetition to let our brain know, hey, this new thing is working. So this is why you'll see people who have Post-it notes on their computer, or accountability in forming a new habit, or a daily reminder of doing this thing. This is the normal process because it has to, we habituate the new habit. It takes practice. There used to be, everybody said, oh, it takes 21 days to build a habit. It takes what it takes to build a habit. It actually, studies show, is longer than that. I'm not going to give a day, because you'll know when it becomes second nature. You'll know when you see the benefits of it. We don't always see the benefits of a new habit because we don't have enough practice yet. And remember, our brains work on a reward system. When we convince our brain that it's working, it becomes a habit. It becomes second nature. And our job is to stay consistent in the process. So when we become aware that there are these two parts to something, this is when we bring it into our consciousness. So something happens and we have an emotion that arises. This is reactive. This happens. We can't make it not happen, right? And then we have a narrative about it. We tell a story about it. Sometimes this can look like blame. Sometimes this can look like justification. Sometimes, of course, that happened. This is why. But if we go straight to the narrative, if we find ourselves just talking ourselves through it without feeling the emotion, this is where it gets stuck. So now you have awareness that there are these two pieces, and you can separate this, meaning pause. There's, there's so much power in the pause. It's almost like this is where we get new perspective. This is where we can change our mind. This is where we can make a new decision. And it's almost like when we're just habituated or living in our subconscious or just going through the motions, it's like we're like this up looking at a painting. And when we see that separation, when we say, you know what's the emotion here? What am I feeling? We actually can, it's actually moving the picture back so we can see a broader view. This is where we can make decisions. This is where we engage the front of our brain to make these decisions, to do something different, to just make space. So this is conscious choice. This is how we make a change. And we definitely have the ability to change our minds about things. And as I said, most often, it's not immediate. There are some times where we will make a decision, we will make a change, and it will be a fundamental, fast change. Often that comes at the level of very high pain. So I don't encourage that this is how we change our mind. So give yourself patience, repetition, get with somebody, let them know, hey, this is what I'm doing. It helps so much when we're in a community doing these things. So, how does all of this make us more effective? Well, it makes us more effective because we give ourselves a break, first off. Second, we're working with ourselves instead of against ourselves, right? Why do I keep doing this? Instead of why do I keep doing this, what do I want to do different? Because I have the ability to shift that. And now I know it may not be instant gratification when I make a new decision, but I know that I can make it, it can happen over time. Also, when we feel through emotions, there's all these videos out on the internet. If you search like a polar bear being there's one really great video. There's a lot of them, but there's one where this polar bear is captured because they're tracking them because they're there's a lot of things. There's not a lot as many polar bears as there used to be, so they tranquilize him. They've put a tracker in him. They're doing all these things, which is very traumatic for a polar bear. So as he's coming out of all of that, you can actually watch him physically shaking, like tremors shaking. And this is the animal's natural ability to shake off that trauma, to feel through what's happened. And we can do that too, except we often just go tell a story about it. When we can do this, I'm here to tell you the lightness that you can have about things as you move through them instead of carrying them along is one of the biggest freeing things to make you more effective. And when I say more effective, it doesn't mean you get to work harder. I mean, if you want to, you can. I think most of us, especially the people who tend to come here, they work pretty hard already. You all work pretty hard. It's a freedom of perspective. We talk about in my programs, we talk about the zone of tolerance and regulating, and our bodies have this natural tendency, this natural state of homeostasis. Call it rest and digest, right? Where all systems are functioning as they should. And it's when we are in stress, when we're out here in fight or flight or freeze, that rest and digest, all of that system and the hormones that go with it and all of this cease to function during that time. And what's happening is we in this modern age are outside of that rest and digest so much, and we don't have to be. And part of it is understanding how we function and making choices based on that. So, again, our brains aren't quite wired for the modern age. We're very reactive, and remember, the reaction is very abrupt. However, it doesn't mean we have to carry it down the road. We don't have to create a narrative that is life or death. Staying in habits that no longer serve us creates ineffectiveness. It's also not fun. So this idea, self-reflection with non-judgmental observation, lovingly looking at what habits no longer serve us, and then understanding we have the ability to change our minds about those. I hope you enjoyed learning a little more about your wiring and how it really can create, using self-awareness with understanding how we're wired, really can create more effectiveness in our lives, which means more fun. It means more impact and getting to enjoy the ride. So if this served you and you enjoy this, I also have 5 brain hacks to boost energy and beat burnout. And there's more, you'll see more below. And until next time, remember it's not always you, sometimes it's your brain. All right, bye.